Look after the others. Especially Sam. He will not understand.
Lord of the Rings has been a huge part of my life and who I am ever since I was a wee lad. Very few things could grip me the way that Lord of the Rings did as a child. The only things that could possibly compete for a place in my overalls was Blue's Clues, which is obvious, and 2000's not really a blockbuster hit, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? But today, or tonight, I don't want to talk to you about George Clooney's sultry vocals, or my kid brain somehow becoming convinced that Original Steve was kicked off Blue's Clues for weed charges. I want to talk to you about Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, and what it means to me and why it's my favorite of the three films. For those of you who don't know, Fellowship of the Ring is the first installment in Peter Jackson's cinematically groundbreaking trilogy, Lord of the Rings, based on Tolkien's amazing life work. Also, to those of you who don't know, probably bye. I don't know if this video will really pique your interest or offer you anything that you'll understand, but if you stay, I promise you legendary performances, industry-changing cinematography, and some pretty bad jokes. So without further ado, let's talk about the Shire. You could argue, and I think I'm gonna argue, that the Shire is one of the most important places in all of Lord of the Rings. It's the antithesis to one of the other most important places in Lord of the Rings, Mordor. In the Two Towers, we see a withering Rohan plagued from the outside, and in the Return of the King, we see a shell of Gondor's former glory corrupted from within. But in the Fellowship, the Shire shows us unadulterated beauty, happiness, life. And this lady. Our introduction to the Shire is profound in many ways. Firstly, opening with a shot of Tolkien's map of Middle-earth is a stroke of genius. In just a few seconds, you show us the enormity of the world we're about to embark upon, and then you take us right into the beautiful little intricacies of one of its many locales. Secondly, letting Tolkien poetically introduce the world he spent his life creating through the voice of Bilbo writing and reading aloud the beginnings of what is to become the Hobbit is nothing short of perfect. When used sparingly, voiceovers can be a beautiful and usually symbolic way of conveying a message. The profundity of just these first few minutes alone, and the overarching message of Bilbo's narration being, "It is no bad thing to celebrate a simple life," brings me to tears almost every single time I watch it. Side note, just in case anybody's wondering, we're only going to be talking about the extended cuts of these movies. One, because why not? And two, because I don't remember what's in what cut anymore, but I do know that I only own and watch the extended cuts, so. Sorry about that. He was taking so long and talking about side notes. I just want to talk to you about sirs. Sirs are people knighted by the monarchs of England. And if there's one thing we know knights for, it's being epic. So for mathematical reasons, if we say one sir is equal to one epic, then Fellowship has 3 epics, and watching them act across the screen from one another is some of the best gifts cinema has ever given me. Now, if we look at the Two Towers, we don't even need to go further than the name to figure out that there's only 2 epics in the movie. And if we run some calculations and crunch some numbers, eventually we'll figure out that 2 is less than 3. Now, some of you may say, James, due to the nature of your flawless mathematistics, Return of the King has all 3 epics in it. I guess it does, yeah, but spoiler alert, one gets a wheel bad splinter, and the other one looks like he spent his entire year in Rivendell just soaking under scalding hot water, and now he's melting. Just based on my scientifical statistics, Fellowship do be the most epic, so. What the fuck? What are you Jim, please, just ignore him and he'll go away, or... Okay. I could crunch those numbers again real quick, guys. Just run some calculations. No, you did real good in there. I trust your okay, numbers, but Miller. I'll see you later. Bye. The nice thing about taking things slow is nuance. For example, this slower pace lets Bilbo not only just say thank you, but personally thank every single family that came to his 111th birthday. I'm talking Bagginses, Boffins, Tooks, Brandybucks, Chubbs, Grubs, Hornblowers, Bulgers, Bracegirdles, and Proudfoots. Proud feet, I'm sorry. What I'm trying to say is that Bilbo's 111th birthday speech is one of my favorite moments in the entire trilogy. And if the Fellowship had to move along at the same pace that the latter two have to, I don't know if I would have that moment. Exposition is also the key to creating an immersive world, something that I think was incredibly important to Tolkien. Like when I realized the story Bilbo is telling the kids at his birthday party was The Hobbit, I felt included. And when Gandalf tells us that the mithril rings Thorin gave Bilbo are worth more than the entirety of the Shire, I felt educated. To me, this is how you immerse an audience, not putting a perfectly illustrated world in front of your face, but giving them little hints of lore and bits of history, and letting my ape brain smoke while it tries to put together the pieces. And if we're talking immersion, let's talk about extras. Extras in movies are critical. They're like NPCs in a video game world. Would you rather walk into a weapon store and be greeted by Hunky Blacksmith 17? Or Russian Mr. Krabs? Now don't get it twisted. Two Towers and Return of the King have incredible extras and stuntmen, especially during the big battles. But do they have a thick bartender with a beautiful mustachio? Or how about our legendary gatekeeper? Rest in pulp, my beautiful king. And I know it don't have director-producer Peter Jackson clinging to life through a carrot. No, I'm not done. What about this guy? And what about... Ooh. He was talking about all of those extras and the acting and stuff, and I just, it just reminded me, I wanted to say, dude, I love Sean Bean. That's really all I had to say here. One does not simply, am I right, fellas? One of the reasons I love Sean Bean's Boromir so much is his relatability and his flaws. And that goes for, honestly, most of the characters in the Fellowship. None of them seem like heroes yet. Even Gandalf in his infinite wisdom and thousands of years upon Middle-earth seems like for half the movie, he ate too many of those magic mushrooms they found on the side of the road. They just seem like normal people thrust into an epic mission. We got Samwise the Gardener and Aragorn the big old loser ranger who doesn't want to be king yet, instead of Aragorn the summoner of demons. And I can relate to this Aragorn a little bit more. And people have been known to say that, if I look like anyone from the Fellowship, it's Aragorn. So, no, not Gimli, but put up a picture of Aragorn. No, I'm not that fat. Speaking of beautiful people, let's take a look at a beautiful place. The mines of Moria are like... I got nothing, but I really like them, so... Moria's got giant octopuses. It has astounding low-light cinematography. It's got extraordinary life lessons, like always follow your nose. It's got Pippin being a goddamn dumbass, and they've got a cave troll. What's not to like? Moria is the first place we see our characters truly tested, and goddamn do they pass. Except Gandalf and the Balrog, but I think they're fighting over extra credit, one of them will be back, so... Something that always comes to mind when I'm thinking of Moria and what the whole sequence means to me is, why the fuck was Frodo so dramatic? Like, I know, getting hit by a stick probably hurts, especially if it's a gorilla doing the hitting, and it's double especially if that stick can skewer a wild boar. But you don't even have a schoolyard scrape, and you're playing dead while your friends are over here mourning you. What the fuck? What? I'm really sorry about that kick before. It was... Well, even though he may be a fucking idiot, Miller brings up a good point about the relatability of the Fellowship. One of the first scenes that always comes to mind when I think about Lord of the Rings is this one, and for good reason. The scene shows us just 9 people on a trek across Middle-earth with no intention of glorious battles, and I don't think any true understanding of the immensity of the quest they're on. They're cooking food, practicing combat, having fun. It's an incredibly endearing and important scene for the development of the characters and why we end up caring for them so strongly. We rarely get any other slices of life like this throughout the trilogy, so we appreciate them so much when they do crop up because of the substance and depth they give our protagonists. To appreciate where they end up, we need to give them somewhere to start from. The cinematography of The Fellowship of the Ring seems much different to me than the other 2 films. It's incredibly raw and almost indie feeling, which would make sense for Peter Jackson's background. Not to say I don't adore the sweeping shots of Middle-earth and the grand battle scenes fueled by groundbreaking CGI, because I absolutely do. But a recurring theme in The Fellowship is a little goes a long way. And the intimate way the movie is shot is definitely a contributor to another significant reason why this is my favorite of the 3 films, and that's the scope of the story. The story and arc of The Fellowship feels very contained in its own world for a multitude of reasons. One of them being because all of our characters are together in one cohesive story arc. Another being our characters' limited knowledge and experience of what lies ahead of them. And also, at this point in the trilogy, the blissful ignorance of the rest of Middle-earth to the evil stirring in the East. The confined nature of our story and the togetherness of our characters makes their collective bond seem so much stronger, and their decisions so much more immediately impactful, and their failures so much more painful. These, of course, are subjective feelings and opinions, though. I wouldn't have agreed with me right now only a few years ago. When I was younger, it was all about the Two Towers, baby, feelings. Fuck that. I wanna see Gimli jump off a building onto a bunch of spears and somehow not get Gaddafi'd. Or Aragorn toss a 300-pound fucking meatball 25 feet with one arm. And when I was in high school, Return of the King was absolutely my favorite. I wanted to feel all those emotional beats in my angsty years, and you know, see Aragorn triumph and come out on top and get the Goyle. But now, and probably since I was like 20, Fellowship has absolutely been my favorite, and for some reason, I don't think that's gonna change. I love Fellowship for a ton of technical reasons, some that I've went over in this video, but I also love it for more ambiguous reasons. The same reasons that I get so involved in all the romantic relationships and stuff in the shows that I watched the last couple of years, because I'm lonely and my life feels unrealized. I love watching and being immersed in Fellowship of the Ring because it's how I indulge in the feelings of being a part of something and making a mark on the world. But also because the final act of the movie is my favorite sequence in all of cinema. Firstly, because the forest that the last skirmish takes place in is incredibly immersive. It isn't a meticulously evil hellscape or a whimsically positive oasis or a labyrinth of razor-sharp rocks. It's a forest. A beautiful, normal forest in the middle of fall with decaying pieces of architecture scattered around to give it character, yes, but just a forest nonetheless. And secondly is our characters' motivations. They're fighting for each other, not just for Frodo or for the ring, not to save a nation, not to defend the world from evil, but for each other, you know, for the other 7 people in just as dire a place as they are. And the fight choreography is just unmatched. They are scrapping, they're dancing, they're shooting, they're throwing, they're running, and then they're here. For so long, I wished Boromir survived. Sean Bean gives my absolute favorite performance of the film, and he kinda dominates the third act. After the swift and decisive way he redeems himself and embraces Aragorn as king and repents for the way that the ring manipulated him, all I've ever wanted is for him to get up and help Aragorn lead Gondor and the world to victory. But I've realized over the years that for his performance to mean so much, and for his words to carry so much weight there at the end, he has to die. He has to decide to die defending the defenseless, to realize and embrace the good left within him. This choice purges the evil plaguing his mind, and whether he lives or dies, he does so as Boromir of Gondor, as a hero. It's a wonderful glimpse at the overarching message of Tolkien's work. In the end, the sun will shine out the clearer. You will make the right choice, and the good in us will win. It got way too emotional there at the end. I've been waiting to make this video for what feels like years now, but I was so afraid to, not because of audience reception and all that kind of stuff, but these movies mean an indescribable amount to me. They're the substance of everything that I am, and fucking up a video or making a bad video about them would kill me, and I would not want to. I would spend weeks on it and fucking throw it out. But I have a good feeling about this one, and part of the reason I have a good feeling about this one is because of the confidence that all of you have given me. 10,000 people, 11,000 people, you know, last week, 7 days ago, it was 950 something. I was getting ready to just inch my way across the 1,000 mark and then probably inch my way back down, but you have just sent me barreling above and beyond anything I expected, especially for this year. I've been doing this for 3 years now, and, you know, just recently, maybe the last 6 months, I've really found my footing and found a beautiful audience. Thank you to everyone who's been here with me for so long now. You know, by the end of this year, my stretch goal was 5K, and you guys have just given me everything. It means so much to me. Thank you. I have everything to be gracious for. You know, not only just being here, but the beautiful comments you guys have been leaving me, and how nice you've been, and the confidence I felt in myself being on camera for this video and banging out this script that meant so much to me, and even editing the videos. It's a world of difference. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to someone who I've been watching for years on end, and I still cannot come to terms with the fact that he not only, you know, gave me this audience and gave me this chance and all of you awesome people, but he also told me he liked or loved my videos and gave it an A+ and told me I was funny. And it's just someone who's been doing this for so long with an actual founded opinion, in comparison to just a week ago I was getting annihilated by these people on Reddit calling me everything in the book. You know, to hear him back me up and say, you know, he sees the Jakey influences but thinks that I can move away and he wants to see me do that. It's, I don't know how to put it into words, but thank you so fucking much. And it's just so perfect that for 1,000 and 10,000 and for having this whole new audience and all this confidence that I made this video about what is probably one of the most important things in my entire life. So I really hope you enjoyed it. Big thing, I want to be able to put out another video rather quickly and get you guys acclimated with the channel and me and get to know me. So I want to do a Q&A and kind of like a 10K, I don't know, milestone thing. But I don't want the comment section to just be like question thing. So if you're going to leave a question, you can ask me anything about YouTube, my life, movies, games, whatever. I would love to answer your questions. Use the #question. I know, it's really creative. I already asked for questions in a YouTube community post like a day or two ago, so if you've left them there, I've seen them. You don't have to leave them again if you don't want to here. But for anyone else who hasn't and has a question, drop it down below, #question. I'm also going to be asking on Snapchat and Twitter, so if you want to follow me in the links in the description, or not links, but like my handles are down there. And yeah, do all the things that everybody else tells you to do at the end of their videos to my video, and get ready to click some shit. Farewell.